You hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season.
A lot of this is jealousy that this moment went viral because God forbid we have some positivity with the press and on social media. God forbid. I was going to save this topic for Random Wednesday since it is a random topic in regards to this channel overall, but I had the time to talk about it and I wanted to talk about it while it was a hot topic. There's a video going viral after the Jacksonville Jaguars lost their playoff game on Sunday. It was from the post-game presser when their coach Liam Coen was being asked questions by the media, and Lynn Jones, who has worked for the Jacksonville Free Press as a reporter for over 2 decades, decided to bring a little humanity to the post-game presser and give him a bit of a uplifting comment rather than trying to pick apart his coaching in the game.
How you doing today? Lynn Jones, Jacksonville Free Press News. I just want to tell you congratulations on your success, young man.
Thank you.
You hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season.
Thank you.
And you did a great job out there today.
Appreciate
so you
it.
just hold your head up, okay?
This positivity has gone viral, but some of it for the wrong reasons, because in typical social media fashion, nobody can just take a good moment and be happy about it. No, fellow reporters, specifically sports reporters, are having a cow that this is not the way to be at a post-game presser. You're not supposed to be friends with the coach. You're not supposed to be positive, basically, is what they're saying. But these are the same people that will drum up drama to try and get coaches fired all the damn time. The response to this has been laughable, and it's been great to see that when all of these sports reporters are crying about a good moment, they're getting ripped to shreds on social media because social media is going to social media. Here we have the sports reporters thinking that social media always has to be for negativity and to be miserable. And so while they decide to be miserable about this moment, they make their own lives more miserable because they have plenty of people all over their comments tearing them to shreds. And I wanted to look at some of these today and just give more commentary on the situation. Because on one hand, my take on this, and I have many different thoughts, but my main take on this as someone who, posts videos on social media is that these reporters, and some of them I put in quotes because I'd never heard of them before in my life. They work for these small little sports shows, and they are beat writers. And some beat writers are agenda driven. They have their own agendas all the time. If they don't have access to certain players, if they don't like their interactions with certain players, they push their agendas that certain player sucks. It happens all the time. These sports reporters are acting so holier than thou about how serious they take their jobs, as if they all don't have their own agendas. Brooke Pryor from ESPN, who mostly covers the Steelers, said, "Look, it's a kind sentiment, but it's not the job of a reporter to console a coach in a post-game press conference. Pressers are to ask questions to gain a better understanding of what happened or figure out what's next, and do it in a limited amount of time." I find this so stupid, especially in regards to this presser, because it was the last presser of the seasons. The Jaguars lost the game. All these reporters just asked variations of the same question. What happened on this play? What was your thought process behind this decision? How are you feeling after the loss today? These are not these questions that are going to really do anything for anyone, especially the last game of the season when the season is over. Asking questions about what happened and to figure out what's next. What's next is an entire different season. There's going to be different players on the team. There's going to be players leaving the team. So I thought Brooke's response, and she was one of the first, was asinine, but it's no surprising from someone who works for ESPN. Next up was Grant Paulson. There's no winning by disputing this, and I should probably just sit it out. And yes, Grant Paulson, you probably should have just sat it out. Grant Paulson, I didn't know who he was. I don't know most of these people I'm talking about today. I looked who he was, and he does baseball commentary on some radio shows. So his take is not surprising to me from a baseball guy because baseball is dying in this country. I am a baseball fan, but not a lot of people are anymore because they don't know how to evolve with the times. And Grant Paulson is a good example as to why. He's talking about people will all side with the fan complimenting the coach. Not a fan, by the way. He's being very disrespectful to a fellow journalist. And this journalist is not a sports reporter, by the way. Lynn just works for the Jacksonville Free Press. All the people at the presser aren't just writing for sports. She also just has writes for the community of Jacksonville. So just disrespect from Grant Paulson here like an idiot. Anyway, Grant is saying he's stunned to see reporters encouraging this, talking about Adam Schefter. Post-game presser isn't the place for pom-poms. It's a workplace. You want to grab him off to the side and tell him you love him, fine. But this makes the whole media room look like amateur hour and gives off a vibe that they're just credentialing anybody. Grant Paulson is everything wrong with baseball these days. It's boring. It has no heart. It has no life. It's not fun. And Grant Paulson is a big example of that, and that's why the MLB struggles to even get TV deals in this day and age compared to the rest of the other sports. They are losing TV deals rather than gaining big TV deals like the NBA and the NFL. Grant Paulson, big idiot. Next up, Mark Long. Not the Mark Long from The Challenge, for the record. This guy writes for the AP News. Nothing awesome about fans/fake media doing stuff like this. It should be embarrassing for people who credentialed her and her organization, and it's a waste of time for those of us actually working. Another pompous response from someone that wasn't going to ask some big question that was going to shatter the sports world. Mark Long does work down in Florida. Never heard of him. He didn't go viral. In fact, I'm starting to think people like Mark Long are upset that they don't go viral for their boring, mundane, repetitive questions. A lot of this is jealousy that this moment went viral because God forbid we have some positivity with the press and on social media. God forbid. Next up, James Boyd, another nobody, was talking about the general public doesn't understand. It's just another cocky, holier than thou response to all of this. But he's saying, but when this woman congratulated Liam Coen, which is a good-natured gesture, it was also a misuse of her access. You're there to ask questions, not actively root for the team you cover. I'm not bad about it, but this is wild behavior. First of all, he's mad about it because it went viral. They're all just mad about it. Because these nobodies are going nowhere fast for their little sports shows and their little newspapers that nobody reads anymore. Once again, I'll point out she's not a sports reporter, which is, I think, maybe what's breaking these people's brains because they just think that there's only one way to cover sports. And at times I get the sentiment that you have to be you got to critique. I critique a lot on this channel. And this is what I was going to say earlier. I understand some of where they're coming from because in this day and age, negativity gets clicks and criticizing people gets clicks. Now, I like to, on this channel a lot, try and turn it in a way where I'm defending someone and I'm going to critique someone else to defend said person. But not enough people do that. They just want to critique. Everything has to be negative. Let's try and get this coach fired. This player sucks, and we're only saying he sucks because he wasn't nice to us the last time we talked to him in a presser. These people are pathetic. Then Jemele Hill decided to get her ass in it, and that confused me very much because she was someone on ESPN that would always like to talk about how athletes, when they were getting into politics, that they should be able to get into politics and they shouldn't just stick to sports. And I agree with her on that. But the reason she no longer works for ESPN is because she did so much race baiting over the years and just had an otherwise miserable demeanor. And now she works for a lesser organization, but she decided to give her 2 cents on this situation too, posting up and down Twitter about it, quite frankly. And it was kind of the sentiment that sports reporters should stick to sports. and not humanity, going against everything she ever preached. It's very confusing. Anyway, she was talking about, I hear you, but I'm going to push back. You can echo the fan without coming off like this coach's auntie. I get it. The media is never going to win these battles because people see the media as self-absorbed, which they are. I mean, just look at these responses. They're so self-absorbed. The general public wouldn't understand. But also realize this is a working press room and a lot of other reporters there are on deadline. I need to ask a question. So I imagine a couple of them were like, all right now, auntie. First of all, she shouldn't be calling anyone auntie at 50 years old. Maybe she should start calling Lynn sister instead of auntie. Anyway, she was being another huge hypocrite. LeSean McCoy, ex-football player, decided to get involved, and Typo made plenty of people make fun of him, talking about somebody come get they mama. This ain't a little league where we all get appreciation trophies. He must have really misspelled participation, which everyone called him out for on social media. So another person looking dumb because they decided they had to be a curmudgeon and get in on this because there was actually something positive coming out of a loss. Oh my God. God forbid. Lastly, though, I do think a lot of this is just jealousy. They're jealous that the thing went viral. They're jealous that Adam Schefter makes a lot of money at ESPN and he's the one that posted it first to help make it go viral. You got people like John Parado, which if I was John and I was old and out of shape and looking sickly, I would probably feel the same jealousy that he has for Adam Schefter. But it's responses like this that show the jealousy. He's saying, awesome, ESPN pays $9 million a year to someone who thinks this is awesome. Wow. And people like John Pareto never get ahead. He's a freelance writer, and they don't get ahead because they don't understand the world. They're so out of touch with the world. They're so stuck in a bubble. People get stuck in a bubble with their jobs, and then people like Pat McAfee, who push beyond the bubble and don't do everything by the book, actually become the most popular people because they're not doing everything by the book. They're actually showing personality. They're actually showing positivity. They actually get excited about things. And people like John just can't understand that because they're so miserable that they're old and still just a freelance writer. And I get it. I've done freelance before. But you're not Adam Schefter. You're not Pat McAfee. And John, it's your own dumb fault for being miserable, for being jealous. Anyway, I had to get this out of my system because I've been laughing at these sports reporters for the past 12 to 15 hours since I've seen it happening on social media, seeing them be ripped to shreds for a crazy response. Social media is rotting people's brains with the fact that something positive happens and immediately everyone else in that field, even though it is different because she's not a sports reporter, but everyone else in that field wants to jump on social media and make it a negative thing. And then they all get egg on their face from everybody else on social media because it's easy to jump on your dumbasses when you're being miserable.